Good afternoon, Take the Oath audience. Today I have something I think is going to be really special to you. I remember hearing one time Ronald Reagan say that those who say today that there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. People look for heroes in pop culture and sports. My heroes have always been a generation of airmen who have personally inspired me as a pilot and who are quickly leaving us. And so today I'm very honored to be able to talk about someone that I have been able to meet and become acquainted with earlier this year. His name is First Lieutenant Roland H. Martin.
Able to pull you out of that picture.
He graduated in June of 1943 as a fully qualified B-17 pilot at the age of 19, probably one of the youngest ones in the Air Force at the time.
I knew that there was a job to be done. I felt that I was among the best to accomplish that job. I really went in with a great deal of patriotic fervor at that time because it was obviously going to be a big show, but I was not at all concerned about the possible loss of life. I felt there was a job to be done, and I was there to do it.
He and his crew were shipped off in 1943 to England and were assigned to the 8th Air Force 379th Bomb Wing.
The crew turnover, when we went into our Quonset hut barracks, the possessions of previous crew that had not made it back were just being totaled up and to send back to their loved ones.
He flew 9 missions over France and Germany. The goal was to make 25 missions, and the talk was if you could make it past 10, there was probably a good chance you might survive.
I can't say that I was fearless, but I had a job to do. I was determined to do it, and I knew the odds were not all that good. The idea was to finish the job.
On his 10th mission, Lieutenant Martin and his crew were assigned to fly over Schweinfurt, Germany, the ball bearing plants, a target that had been hit nearly 2 months earlier and had resulted in the loss of the whole bomb squadron, many of the pilots which he had just replaced.
Well, I didn't go through that mission where we lost 60 B-17s. But there were crews there who had been there before, and the audible gasp was enough to let us know that this was something that some of them, I think, even sort of tried to get out of the room, but it wasn't going to happen. But it set the tone that this was going to be a big one. We were flying into flak, which we could see. It was somewhere along the line while the bombs were being dropped that we first lost 2 engines. I knew we were going to get hit because I could see the bomb bursts were directly ahead at by altitude. This was followed by another 3 battery burst, which knocked out the 2 port engines. The plane was really sieved, if you will call it. And and we fell out of formation.
It was known as Black Thursday because of the tremendous amount of losses. They lost nearly 60 aircraft in that run, one of which was Lieutenant Martin's aircraft.
6 of the crew in the rear all bailed out. Fortunately, I told Macri to go back to the rear and let me know the intercom had been blown out. And by the time he got back to tell me they were all clear, we were too low for me to bail out, and or those that were left. There were 4 of us, pilot, co-pilot, bombardier, and Macri. We went in for a crash landing.
He and 3 other crew members crash landed in a town just about 20 miles south of Schweinfurt, where he and his top turret gunner were able to evade the German capture for about 2 weeks on their way to Switzerland. At some point he was picked up in Germany near Ulm and taken to Stalag Luft 1 POW camp, where he spent nearly 20 months as a prisoner of war.
In 1945, there were about 8,000 or 9,000 American and British officers. We had been listening to Russian gunfire, cannon fire, for about 2 weeks. When we woke up in the morning, the Germans were gone. They knew that the Russians were about to reach our camp.
He was liberated by the Russians in April 30th, 1945.
Coming into New York on that shipboard, after having been 4 years overseas, was an emotional moment that just tied me up, and I can still almost brings tears to my eyes when I think of it. It was just a wonderful feeling of home again, thank God. The lesson we learned is if you're going to go to war, you better go with a plan to win it, which means that there are going to be heavy losses. Some of us were fortunate enough to get through this whole thing. Had it not been that Franklin Roosevelt came to England's support, the Germans would have taken over England, and we would be talking German today. We saved Europe and the world from an advancing Germany, and I hope we don't have to do it again.